Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Herm and Cet Show, featuring your two favorite NBA YouTubers. We have our host, Nate Herman,
Yo,
leading the way, joined by myself, Ethan Seton, two Houghton Highlanders,
that's right.
NBA insiders, and we are here to present you with part two of our breakout players to watch. We are going to be focusing on some forwards today.
Yeah,
Big Herm, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, we're here to give you the top analysis, the best analysis of the best breakout forwards. And we're not looking at guys who have already broken out. Mikal Bridges is not going to be on this list. He might be on some other people's list, but Mikal Bridges already showed us who he is. We're going to shout out some guys that I think deserve some shout out that haven't gotten it, and guys that can be a more impactful player than maybe you would have thought heading into next season. And I'm going to let you start us off with your small forward one on the breakout list.
My small forward one. You know, in the last episode, we talked a little bit about a Lakers sneak peek. I want to talk about Cam Reddish.
Cam
Cam
Reddish,
Reddish,
fourth team
been
Cam.
fl- been flying under the radar.
That's true.
You know, we looked at Atlanta, who was nothing. We
Was
looked
good in
at
the
the
playoffs.
Knicks. Was Anyways, we looked at the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely nothing. And then we went to Portland and, hit a couple three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but here's his chance. LeBron saves careers. He saved Rui Hashimura's career, and it's time to save Cam Reddish's career because Cam Reddish is going to get some minutes this upcoming year, and they are going to feed him the ball to shoot. We saw him at Duke shoot the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
That's all he has to do. Shoot the basketball and then play defense. And I think in the new Lakers system, things are looking up for Cam Reddish.
Yeah, I mean, you ask a lot of guys from his high school era who was the hardest guy to guard. Anthony Edwards is on the record saying it was Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish was a beast. He's a great shooter, and he really has kind of that elite playground offensive game where he'll break you down in isolation, kind of like a Carmelo Anthony type on the lower end of the scale. But that type of guy is an ISO scorer type and can space the floor a little bit. I think that's all he needs to do. They're not going to ask him to break people down off the dribble. That's not what Cam Reddish's role is going to be. Space him out to the corner. LeBron will drive and kick like he's done in his entire career and hit you for open threes. All you have to do is hit them. Because if you hit them, you'll get a lot of play time on this team. You're going to become a quick fan favorite as well as a favorite of Darvin Ham's. Because I think he's shown some defensive ability. And the biggest thing of why they couldn't play Vando in the playoffs at times last year is because he can't shoot. He can't shoot at all. So if Cam Reddish can come in and hit those shots, it gives them kind of a more reliable presence on both ends of the floor. And there's going to be some forward minutes available if Cam Reddish is willing and ready to take them over.
If I have to see Jared Vanderbilt hit the side of the backboard on a corner three again,
Yeah, get those
I'm
Westbrook flashbacks.
I it's like PTSD. And I think I'm going to enjoy Cam Reddish more than watching those Jared Vanderbilt side of the backboard threes because all Jared Vanderbilt will have to do if they're on the floor, he's there to play defense.
Yeah,
And then we got a shooter in the corner, Cam Reddish.
perfect.
So I'm excited.
Yeah,
More relaxing.
yeah, me too. It'll keep the blood pressure down. We'll be a little more relaxed. I think he can hit some open threes. But I'm going to shift us to New Orleans, and I'm going to talk about
Mm.
Trey Murphy III. Because Trey
Mm.
Murphy at times last year, when given more opportunity because Zion and BI missed a lot of games, he had 30-point games. Trey Murphy is a bucket getter. A lot of people inside the Pelicans organization, from what I've heard, think Trey Murphy is arguably their most untouchable player. People think Murphy is a kind of near lock to be an all-star within New Orleans. And I really like what I've seen as a tall wing. He's sneaky tall. He's like 6'10". As a small forward slash shooting guard, he can play some two alongside it. And I just think Trey Murphy does everything you want as a big wing who can play defense, who can shoot the ball, who can create for himself offensively off the dribble. And Trey Murphy, I think, is going to be a lot bigger impact next season than you might think. Feels like a guy who could be a 20-point per game scorer. We'll see how much Zion and BI play because that's going to play a huge part in it. But Trey Murphy, to me, can be much more impactful than people think, and he can do it really quickly because we've already seen it in flashes, and he has the defense to go along with it.
Was Trey Murphy the one that was beefing with like Draymond Green one game?
He
And
might have
then
been.
like
I'm trying to think if it was him or Herb Jones.
I don't know. I forgot which one it was.
We'll call it Trey.
And
We'll say
then
it was Trey.
and then they were he was like, "Oh, you're getting subbed out." And then Draymond had that freak out. That was I remember that moment. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe I don't know how I want to say this. This upcoming year, I think Trey Murphy is gonna play solid, like you're saying.
Yep.
I don't I don't know how it's gonna look with with Zion back healthy
Hmm.
and how the scoring is gonna go with that.
Yep.
You know, what what kind of fit do you see him playing along Zion? Because I don't think we know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, I think that'll be the biggest question is what exactly it's going to be and what the looks are going to be because they have so many mouths to feed with Zion, who's a near 30
Yeah.
point per game scorer, BI, who's like a 25 point per game scorer, CJ McCollum, who's still like a 20 point per game scorer. They got a lot of mouths to feed, and I think it's going to be a lot of off ball shooting with maybe some more pick and roll responsibilities than what we saw in the past. Get him the chance to kind of run off of screens, whether it's being hitting shots off of them or creating for others. But I think there'll be more on ball for Trey than we've seen in the past, and I would assume that's why the stats are going to jump. But we'll see exactly how the health works out with this team because even CJ has had some injury problems at times. So there's injuries throughout this roster. But if injuries happen again, I think Trey Murphy will easily take advantage of the increased opportunity. But when everyone's there, we'll see because it might limit his ability to get shots. Maybe he kind of leads the second unit as a scorer or some kind of scenario like that where he's on the floor maybe when Zion or BI aren't, just so he gets more opportunity to be that lead offensive option. But we'll see what he ends up being. Do you got a different small forward you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do. We saw this player kind of have his moment
Hmm.
in the playoffs this past year. And, we've known the name for years, back at his time with his brother at Nevada,
Yep.
in March Madness. I want to talk about Caleb Martin. Gonna
That
have
guy.
he's gonna have a step up year
He
this
could.
upcoming year. We saw in the playoffs, what he's capable of. Catch and shoot in the corner and just the ability to get to the basket was really solid.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's not even talking about the other side of the floor. His defensive hustle is just out of this world, when
Hmm.
he turns it on. And he's able to guard, multiple positions. And that's really exciting to watch because it made the difference in the Celtics series. Um, this upcoming year, I think that they're going to lean on him more heavily. You know, Gabe Vincent's gone. And so I think about, where are points going to come from? And a lot of
Damian Lillard.
injuries can happen. You know, Damian Lillard is not there yet. So right
I mean,
now the scoring is coming from other people.
sure, yeah,
So Caleb Martin still has some points to score.
yeah. I
Anyways,
Yeah, you got it.
Caleb Martin, I think he's going to have, another step forward this upcoming year.
Yeah, he makes them dangerous because for a while now their offense has kind of relied specifically on guys like Jimmy and Bam and even Hero, who maybe filled in for Dame. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But adding a guy who can be your fourth option and a very very high level fourth option is huge because if Caleb Martin can be anything similar to what we saw in the playoffs and he's your third or fourth option offensively, you're just a great team. You are. It's really that simple because if you're that talented through 1 through 4 and you're able to get that especially on both ends of the floor, I think that's huge. His shot is a little funky looking. It's got kind of a hitch in it too. So we'll see if the shooting can be as consistent as it was because in that Celtics series he was hitting everything. We'll see if he'll be able to continue to do that with the way the form looks. But Tyrese Halliburton's form looks weird and he hits everything. So I think Caleb Martin is a big step up guy, but it's going to be a lot of eyes on him because he already did it in the playoffs just to see if he can do it in the regular season.
He has kind of that like fadeaway
Yep.
like shot
It's got that
going.
shimmy on it too. He'll
It's
give you that
got
little
like
shake before he goes. I like it.
yeah, it's kind of like he's like he's not like leaning to the side, but he's like leaning back as well. It's like that 45-degree angle,
Yeah.
kind of like what LeBron has, kind of like LeBron has the classic like
Yeah, the
45
one-legged
degree angle
side.
fade.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, that's what like Caleb Martin's jump shot, normal jump shot looks like.
I'll take us to one last small forward before we switch to power forward a little bit. I want to talk about Jaden McDaniels, who I think in Minnesota is a huge for them. Graded out as basically the best all-around defender in the league last season. He's taking the number one assignments on every single night, pretty much. He's already elite defensively. All we need to see from McDaniels is a step up on the offensive end, but he was already pretty good there. I don't know if it'll be as soon as this season, but McDaniels, I think pretty clearly to me, has the upside to be the second best player on this team behind Anthony Edwards. I think he can be more impactful than guys like Cat and Gobert because of the way he does it on both ends. In limited opportunities, he's been able to show some offensive bag as well. He feels like the next guy who could be like a Mikal Bridges type of outburst, who kind of gets more ability to show his kind of scoring option in a self-creation role and really stands out. And I think when you add that to the elite defense he already has, McDaniels can become a near all-star player, if not an all-star. Maybe not next season, but it's going to come at some point. I just love what he does on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, you made a really good point. You said like he's there defensively,
Yep.
but his offensive game still is in question
Yep.
because we've seen how well he can play defense, and he can guard multiple positions,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the scoring will come.
Yep.
We talk about shooting. It's okay. It, you don't need a jump shot right now. That'll come.
Yeah.
But you know, we've seen it happen though. He's had a couple great, offensive scoring days, and I think, they're gonna try to feed him the ball more
Yep.
and try to get him more involved because, Minnesota right now, they're not contending for a championship. They're gonna make the playoffs,
Yep.
but I think if they want to make a deeper run right now, I think McDaniels is going to be someone that is going to have to step up scoring wise and just step up overall.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with their team. I think one of the centers probably ends up getting traded at some point. You don't give Naz Reid a good 4-year contract if you really plan on keeping both of those other centers. It just feels kind of unrealistic. But we'll switch to power forwards. I'll start us off. I'll take it first. And I want to talk about Keegan Murray because Keegan Murray to me is a player who showed in summer league how good he was and how good he
So
can be.
podcast.
Yeah, we love Keegan, a friend of the pod. That's
We
right.
love Keegan.
Yeah, Keegan's great. I think he's not going to be what he was in the summer league, because in the summer league he was basically Kevin Durant. We're not going to see that in the regular season,
Are
but
you sure?
but I think he's going to be a lot better next season. Keegan can be a 20-point per game guy. I don't know if that's next season because of the guys they already have, but I think they're kind of betting on him to step up, and I think he will do that next season. I'm expecting kind of a big sophomore year from Keegan.
Yeah, like his rookie season, his job, was to play defense and also like
And shoot the ball.
off-ball offense.
Yep.
Yeah, just kind of like catch the ball and either shoot it or pass it away.
Yep.
But in those first few games in the California Classic,
Yeah.
they let him dribble up the ball. They fed him the ball, and we talked about his jab step drive to the basket. Dude was Kevin Durant because he could do it all, and I think that's quickly not gonna be the case during the regular season because then you're gonna have good old De'Aaron Fox handling the ball, even though we know that Keegan Murray is the next Kevin Durant, based on his summer league.
Yeah.
But I think that he's going to have the ball in his hands more after what we saw, and that's going to be the biggest difference for Keegan Murray this upcoming year because he's going to be able to, create his own offense, and that's going to lead to bigger performances.
Yeah, that's going to lead to the biggest kind of step up to what the Kings can be, too. I think how good Keegan is really is what's going to propel the Kings to the next level. But do you have a power forward that you want to talk about specifically?
Yeah, I'm sticking, with the sophomore season breakout here.
Yeah.
Let's go down to Houston, and we saw what he's capable of in the summer league. Jabari Smith Jr.
Yes, sir.
I believe that Jabari Smith Jr. is going to have a near all-star year based on what I've seen from the summer league and last year.
Yeah.
I think Ime Udoka is going to make an emphasis that he is going to be scoring.
Hmm.
You know, forget Jalen Green. Jalen Green's out of the picture right now because they are going to work Jabari Smith Jr. on the perimeter and inside because of what he's capable of, because his potential is off the charts.
Yeah, they got a lot of those guys, man. There's a ton of potential down in Houston. A lot of guys who could end up being really good players. But I just loved what I saw from Jabari because even when he was coming into the draft, the biggest thing people were talking about with him is that he can shoot the ball. He's going to be a good shooter. But the big question is if he can create for himself. That's why they loved Paolo. That's why they loved Chet, because they think these guys can create their own shot. But I think Jabari showed us in the summer league he's capable of doing that too. And I think he's going to put himself in that same conversation as those guys, as Paolo, as Chet, as very good NBA players. And I'm excited to see what he's going to be in his second season because he just got better every month of the year through last year, was continually getting better. And that's a big thing with shooters in the league. They kind of take some time usually. Buddy Hield in his first year wasn't really a good shooter until he got out of New Orleans. So it takes some time. And I think Jabari, because of his defensive ability, makes him so much more kind of valuable than those shooters that come in. So I'm excited to see what he can be. We got time for maybe one more power forward if you want one, or I can take it too.
Oh, you can take it. You can take it.
I'm going to throw you Jalen Johnson because I really liked what I saw from him in the playoffs for the Hawks. I think he was really good. They got rid of John Collins as well, opened up a power forward spot, and I think they did that so Johnson can get some more flash. Was a very highly touted recruit going into Duke. And I liked what I saw in the playoffs last year. He's a big guy. He's about 6'10", too. Kind of just has a solid NBA frame. Is built out well strength-wise. Is a good defender and is shown flashes of really good offensive upside. It feels a lot like when they had Cam Reddish, but with a coach in Quinn Snyder, who I really like. I think they can more kind of showcase Johnson and allow him to become what he's capable of becoming.
Yeah, I like what Atlanta's been doing.
Yep.
You know, Jalen Johnson, you know, one and done at Duke, you know, kind of went under the radar, to be honest.
Yeah, really.
Like, and, you know, we haven't, like, talked much about him. Media hasn't talked much about him.
Nope.
But, yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot more about him, you know, in the upcoming years, just with, you know, what Atlanta's doing. Quinn Snyder is a genius. You know, he rebuilt Utah
Yep.
back from the ashes. You know, he worked. I mean, Gordon Hayward was an all-star with him. And I think that, you know, over time, we could see a bunch of these Hawk players like Jalen Johnson, you know, just step up and I think bring Atlanta back to the, you know, conference finals like they were a few years ago.
Yeah, they were a lot friskier with Boston than a lot of people expected. They kind of gave them a hard time when a lot of people thought Boston would walk all over them. And I think it's because of how good Quinn Snyder is, and I think he really makes a difference. And I think he understands what guys should be playing and kind of showcase what he wants them to be. But we'll wrap up this piece too. You know, thanks for watching the power forwards section and small forwards of the podcast. So appreciate it. I'll let you give a tease again. Give a tease for the next episode of someone you might want to talk about.
You know, we have a growing fan base around the world.
Massive.
And when one name comes to mind, I think of a nickname. I think about the Dream from the Philippines.
That's right, yeah. We might talk about Soto next episode with the centers piece of the pod.
Oh, don't give it away! Don't give it away!
And we'll talk about another man, Christian Wood, will be featured on the centers part of the podcast. But thank you guys for watching. Think about subscribing and keeping up with the podcast because we do these weekly. So thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day. That's going to be it from us today. Peace.